The book I am reviewing is The Killer Dutch, Rebooted by Simon Williams. It's a book with 286 pages about 24 model games. It's a book about the classical Dutch because this is what you need to know. The Dutch has three main lines. One is the Leningrad Dutch with G6, one is the Stonewall Dutch, in which sometimes you have to switch from the classical, but in general the classical is E6 and D6, let's say, to make it simple. And this is the repertoire about the classical Dutch, okay? So he didn't say which type of Dutch, but it's not the Stonewall, it's not the Leningrad. Um, Grandmaster Williams is practically one of the foremost world user of this classical Dutch. So if you want to learn the Dutch, he knows all the ins and outs, and it's really a book to learn from, or any book that he wrote about the classical Dutch. I think this is also available on Chessable. So for those who like to use the computer instead of seeing the games over the board, it's a way to learn from. It depends which way you learn. The game I'm going to show you is game number 4, which was included also in an earlier book by Williams called The Killer Dutch. Why did I show you this game? Because it's played by Richard Perth as black, and Grandmaster Perth is also very strong in the Dutch, and he also has written or has made a course, a video course maybe for chess base on the Dutch. So he knows this opening. Notice the flexibility of the opening, because it starts in this game with knight f3. Generally, we would like d4, f5, or d4, e6, c4, f5 to avoid gambits. But the Dutch is really flexible. You can use it also against c4, f5, or you can use it like in this case, knight f3, f5. So it's a very flexible opening in a sense. G3. D3 is a trendy choice, but black has a good reply into knight c6. So this is a trendy choice, but William says you would answer in this way. In the Dutch, obviously, there is a kind of fight also for e5, okay? So it's kind of interesting. So g3, knight f6, bishop g2, d6. If black can play e5 in one move, then he should do so. I prefer these two, and here it shows that he prefers d6 to e6 and gives a little variation to explain why. Please pay attention, because when William saying something, especially in the Dutch, is correct. So he knows his thing. Castle. Notice that obviously this move would lead to the classical Dutch formation, so still a way for white to avoid to tell black what he or she wants to do, okay? And e5. I already prefer black's position. I may be a bit biased, but black's setup certainly bristles with aggressive intent. D3, here it gives a dubious sign. White is playing on autopilot, a big mistake, as this really does nothing to challenge black's plan of attack. So, as I told you, the classical Dutch is with d6, right? But if you can occupy the center, control the center with your pawn, you must do it. It's not that you go on autopilot because you learn the opening in a certain way. It's always good to be able to think. And the same for white. Also, white in this case didn't play good because d3 is passive as move. He should have challenged black with d4. But as you can see, sometimes we just learn an opening and we go in autopilot. So this that white is doing could be a King's Indian attack, right? So we always try to understand if the opponent is going into a pattern or an opening that we know about. So that's why we study opening books, not for memorizing the moves, but for understanding how to play in which situations. Okay? Bishop e7, c4, and now we know that this is not a King's Indian attack at this point. It could be a rating, right? So there are different openings depending on the pawn structure. Castle, knight c3. And now there is a move that you find often in the Dutch. So it's important to watch many games to acquire this taste, this idea. Okay? a5. Black can also play without this move, and let's discuss the general plan for black in this type of position. I have won countless games by A. Getting the black queen involved via queen e8 and h5. So instead of this, we play attack, a point, and then we want it to go. B. Using the f pawn to open lines with f4. C. Swapping off with bishop h3, the bishop on g2, which is a great defender of the white king. So we want to find a situation in which he's able to swap this. F. Checkmating on h2 with the queen, if such move would be possible. Okay, it doesn't always work out this way, but things are pretty close in this game. Okay, so a5, rook b1. Preparing to launch with a3 and b4 instead of playing 8 a3, king h8, and blah blah blah. King h8, a useful waiting move, getting off this line. Yeah, because generally there is a problem on that line, okay? a3, queen e8, and here it gives an exclamation point saying, here it comes. b4, queen h5, the queen has joined in the attack. What does white play here? Well, for white, at this point, he needs to stop the enemy attack on the queen side, on the king side, right? But again, white, it seems, is played with an autopilot. White was p sovereign against that and plays queen b3. Now, queen b3, interesting, but the king is not here, so what does it mean? While this guy is going to attack, so I don't know. It's interesting, this situation. But, so William says white should have played this. This is the move to play to try to block the attack. And it makes sense. It makes sense. In between. f4, of course. Knight d5. A normal idea from white, exchanging knights to try and lead the attack. Knight takes d5. C takes d5. The open c file is not a major concern for black, as he can always defend c7 with a move bishop d8. Now he continues with a takes b4, a takes b4. So what would you play now as black? You need to develop this queen side. Generally, yes, it's a problem in the Dutch, but sometimes they are a little behind. So the move to play is knight d7. Again, an idea worth remembering: when the knight on f6 is gone, use the other one to attack. Bishop d2, knight f6, and rook a1. And here it says this is definitely too slow. I think here it should have maybe give you an idea of what happens, because especially at club player level, maybe someone wants to know, but what happens if black plays like this, right? So here maybe it was nice if you would have put a line to refute this situation, okay? Um, Obviously, it's good for black because you are opening the lines of the attack, but some people say, oh, I want to take a pawn. Yeah, take a pawn. It's a good idea. Okay, so rook a1, rook b8, obviously doesn't want to exchange on that side, rook fc1, and here we see the attack that Williams was speaking in the beginning, bishop h3. Also, bishop d8 was a safe option, okay? Now, white didn't play correctly, another dubious move. Um, he played bishop e1. And instead, Williams says he should have played this, rook takes e7. But, of course, it doesn't make sense at this point. But if he doesn't take on c7 and plays this, he has, in a sense, given a reason to black to be correct, that the attack on the king side is working. Okay. Here, however, there is a line, you can watch it if you take the book. Knight g4, and this is the perfect position you want to achieve in this kind of king side attack. d5, f takes g3, h takes g3. The only option, f takes g3 loses. So here it's given the line and explain why this move is losing. If you can, I would tell you stop the video and work it out yourself, because this is better than when you have to do it during the game, one, and two, you have to work it out yourself because so you understand how it works instead of letting the author explain to you why. Okay? So, not that is anything wrong with the offer, because there is a line which brings even to mate, checkmate. But the point is that we need to be active when we try to learn uh, how to win and how to play chess. So the offer, however, can confirm your analysis. Now, if you were black, how would you continue from this position? Okay? So pause the video, try to see what you would play. The move that Perth played is rook f6. And also here there is a line that explains why bishop takes g2 is also very strong, but this is a very good move. Queen a4, trying to probably go on that side. Bishop takes g2, king takes g2, rook h6. Now that the bishop is blocking the rooks, yeah, it becomes a mess, right? Now we see why that move wasn't so good. But probably in the game it was difficult to calculate, so we can do knight g1, and it is now a mate in 2. I will give you a couple of seconds to solve it. Did you do it? Queen h1, king f1, knight h2, checkmate. Okay, this was a very a miniature, because just 24 moves, game played by Richard Perth during the British Championship in 2005. I hope you enjoy it, and I hope you will enjoy this book because generally Williams find always some funny games, some very strong games that one likes to watch and be entertained by.